So we're going to start in a few minutes here, or actually a few seconds, if you want to gather a little bit closer, but not too close. Good afternoon. Okay, I'm going to need more than that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Jeff Allen, and I'm a United Methodist pastor and the executive director of the West Virginia Council of Churches. I'd like to welcome everyone today for the extended child tax credit gathering. I would like to remind folks to please observe all COVID protocols. Please wear a mask and maintain some physical distance. I know it's cold out and the temptation is to huddle together, but I'm not bothered by the cold as long as I know that a fire burns in the hearts of all those gathered here today in support of children. Sisters and brothers, every generation has an opportunity to move the country forward. Every nation, the moment to make life substantially better for its citizens. And every parent, the freedom to hope for a better future for their children. We are a country that does great things. Our history speaks of it. Our character as Americans demands it. Sisters and brothers, for a time, the extended child tax credit lifted 40% of our nation's children out of poverty, among them 50,000 children. We have proven that we can change the life of children in our country for the better. We know how to do it. We can do it. And if we can lift 40% of our nation's children out of poverty, then we as Americans can lift up the other 60%. And yet, these 40% of our nation's children who were for a time lifted out of poverty are in trouble. When the extended child tax credit was allowed to expire, our country made life more difficult for our children. Our country created more uncertainty for their future, and our country lessened the hope that all parents, caregivers, and children deserve. I think it was Jim McKay who said, "Child poverty is not a Democratic issue. Child poverty is not a Republican issue. It is an American issue. It is the moral obligation of a country that enshrines in a Constitution the belief that it should promote the general welfare. Let it be said that child poverty has always been a calling to all people of faith everywhere. In a time of great divisiveness, in a time when COVID still ravages our land and climate change begins to press upon us, let those who follow after us, our children and their children, remember this, that 2022 was the year we ended child poverty in our nation. The time to pass the extended child tax credit is now." So thank you, and I know you can barely wait for our next speaker, who is Kelly Allen of the West Virginia Center on Budget and Policy. Please welcome Kelly.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here and for tuning in today. As Reverend Allen said, we're here today to point out that January 15th is coming and going without West Virginia families and kids receiving the expanded child tax credit supports that have been helping households around our state and around the country make ends meet since July. Something our U.S. Senator Joe Manchin holds the keys to extending or not extending. We're going to hear from a lot of families today about how they've been personally impacted by the child tax credit payments and what it means to lose them. Not only what they had been able to pay for, but also the mental health and peace of mind that comes with a little bit more economic security. But my job is to talk about the big picture today. No state has been more impacted by the expanded child tax credit than West Virginia. Similarly, no state has more to lose if it's not extended. 93% of kids in our state qualify, which means over 180,000 households across our state have been receiving $250 to $300 payments per child per month since July. Over 90% of the households in the state say that they've been using these payments to meet basic household needs, put food on the table, pay rent, pay mortgage, keep up with school supplies, pay utilities. The expansion of the child tax credit, as Reverend Allen said, cut child poverty by 40%. That is historic progress that will vanish into thin air if the expanded child tax credit provisions are not extended. In our state alone, 50,000 kids are at risk of slipping back into poverty or deeper into poverty. One change that the expanded child tax credit made was to ensure that children and families with the lowest income receive the same amount as children and families with higher incomes. If the CTC provisions are not extended, the child tax credit will revert to an unacceptable status quo, where the children who need the support the most, the lowest income households, will receive little or nothing compared with higher income households. And again, these are big numbers, but they're really important because they do show that the child tax credit touches nearly every family with children in our state. And it's a moral imperative to lift as many children out of poverty as we can, which is why we need to extend the child tax credit. Thanks.
Our next speaker is Angelica Willis. Please welcome Angelica.
Hello. All right, let's do this. My name is Angelica Willis, and I'm here today to be the voice of the working mothers and students of West Virginia. Senator, we ask you to consider the expansion of the child tax credit. Recent studies have shown, just as my previous speakers mentioned, that within the one-year expansion has the potential to cut child poverty by more than 40%, according to the Center on Poverty and Social Policy at Columbia University. Imagine what that can do for our beautiful state. Some of us worked through the pandemic without any additional benefits to fight and help keep West Virginia alive. Others may have recently returned into the workforce, landing any job they could possibly get, even if it's not in their field or study, or by being underpaid to have a home for their families. We are educating ourselves, attending college, maintaining family life, all while working to keep roofs over our heads. We are not all drug addicts. We have a lot to offer to the state. We are helping to keep West Virginia moving forward. The workers are the spine of West Virginia. If passed, it will help to encourage others to get back into the workforce and be able to claim this credit. The thing is, we're not asking for another government handout, simply the way our tax refunds are dispersed. We contributed faithfully throughout this pandemic. We worked hard and we earned each paying hour. Not only do we deserve this, but we need this. We need to ensure the well-being of West Virginia. As an estimated 278,734 West Virginians lived in poverty in 2019, total rate of 16%. West Virginia's rate is 3.7% points higher than the national average, rating West Virginia as the sixth highest rate amongst the 50 states. Right now, it's also the lowest rate of poverty West Virginia has seen it within 20 years. We need to be given a chance to continue to fight for the future of West Virginia, our children's future here. This expansion will give us an opportunity to rise above and change these numbers. We are losing our teachers. We are losing our educators, mothers and fathers who simply want to have a secure and healthy life for their children. Teachers are leaving for better paying jobs despite winning the 5% raises increase following a lengthy strike in 2018. West Virginia teachers remain 48th in the national average salaries, according to the National Education Association. In result, many West Virginia county school districts rely heavily on substitute teachers. A teacher from Bell, West Virginia was making $42,000 as an art teacher, and now she earns $68,000 teaching middle school in Oakland, California. Why can't we do more to keep our educators here? There is a change that must be made, and are you going to be a part of that change? See, mental health is critical also in our state. Hear me out. So, according to the American Health Rankings on child poverty, from birth, mothers living in low-income neighborhoods are more likely than other mothers to give birth prematurely and have low birth rates. From childhood, obesity, asthma, emergency room visits were more common among children living in poverty. Low-income children have the greater need for health services, particularly in mental health. As these children grow up, they're more likely to engage in risky behaviors, such as smoking cigarettes, drug use, and are less likely to finish high school and increased risk of teenage pregnancy. Is this what we want for our children? Setting them up to fail? No, it's not. They are the future pioneers of this state. In 2018, there was an unveiling of the statue of West Virginia native Katherine Johnson. Senator Manchin, you were actually there to witness this historical moment because I saw you there. okay, at the campus of West Virginia State University, an HBCU, a university that I proudly attend grad school, that gave minorities a chance to become something. Mostly not like a commuter school with many students who have children, but they have no reason to stay after graduation and become an asset because we're not able to find solid work. We don't want to leave West Virginia. We want to stay here and be pioneers like Katherine Johnson, make a name for ourselves, and build a legacy for generations to come. We trusted you to have the power to make things better for West Virginia. This is it. Believe in us, Senator, as we believed in you. Let's build up our workers and pass this expansion. Do not let us down during these hard times. This is a great opportunity to turn West Virginia around and give us a chance. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Kirsten Olson. Kirsten Olson.
Hi, I wish I could say I'm glad to be here. I'm really angry that I have to be here today talking about receiving aid for my family, for our families in West Virginia. You know, 40% of West Virginians are poor and low income. And the child tax credit has been a lifeline for so many of us. And to give that relief to hardworking families like mine, to take it away 6 months later, tomorrow will be the first payment that I don't receive. My rent has gone up. All of our groceries have gone up. Our utilities are going up. The prices of things are going up exponentially, and my senator won't listen to my pleas to continue to allow my family to make ends meet with dignity. When families have increased resources to raise their children, better outcomes follow. That's common sense. We know this to be true. Yet the people who represent us in Washington, D.C. don't care about us. That's glaringly obvious. We have action after action in Washington, D.C., in front of Joe Manchin's offices in Charleston and in Martinsburg. We've been begging for Build Back Better. We've been begging for the help that the child tax credit gives to us. And our senator's telling us no, and it makes no sense. And I'm losing my faith in our democracy. Our voices are not being heard. What will be the impact of this relief provided and then taken away? It makes me feel like I don't matter. It makes me feel like my children don't matter, like my family doesn't matter. I don't really know how to close this, except for to say that we need help that the expanded child tax credit can provide to us. And I'm begging for Washington, D.C., for Senator Manchin, for them to hear us and to allow us to have this expended child tax credit as a first step towards healing our nation. Thank you.
Please welcome Marissa Saunders. At this time, please welcome Delegate Sean Hornbuckle.
Good afternoon. I come to you all today as a proud West Virginian, a West Virginian that is a parent, a professional, and a legislator. And in our great state, one of the #1 issues is food insecurity. So much so that my good friend, very, very good friend, and Delegate Chad Lovejoy, he's made this one of his #1 missions to help with that in a bipartisan manner with Delegate Larry Pack and so many other delegates that have helped with this issue. A couple of things that we've got to understand with this, what's going on today. If we are not able to extend the CTC, there could potentially be 346,000 children that are lost in the shuffle. It could potentially put 50,000 of those either below or further into poverty. I also said, and make it very clear, we're asking to simply extend. We're not asking to do this into perpetuity, but we know that we're dealing with an issue right now. Last week, I know the young lady was just up here, she talked about groceries. I went shopping, a pack of bacon was $10. That's unheard of. Just today, sitting on my office after I got off the floor with the great delegate Mike Pushkin, I was fielding calls from back home. One was from a parent with a young girl who was talking about the AEP, the rate increases, and some of those things that they're just trying to get ahead. I also talked to a small business owner who runs a very successful restaurant and was speaking about, Sean, the COVID issue is still here. Can you all help? And so this is a people issue. It's not left, it's not right. It's affecting everyone. And it's affecting our children, our most precious and important commodity. It's our only way forward. We all know if a child goes hungry, they can't perform in the classroom. If they can't perform in the classroom, that means that they won't be successful in that classroom. They won't be able to obtain those diplomas, those degrees. Because all of our goals, again, no matter what party affiliation or anybody out here, it is to make sure that we produce better West Virginians that are able to provide for their families. And so I know that you've been here for us time and time again, our congressional members and our great senator, and we're just asking to extend. Clearly I want to say extend, not for forever, but while all of us as Americans, but again, West Virginians are going through some things, some tough times, until we can get back on our feet, we just need that hand up to provide for our children and extend the child tax credit. Thank you.
Please welcome Delegate Danielle Walker.
Good afternoon, Mountaineers. Now, I know it's a little brisk out here, but we are here for a cause, and this is a call of action. So they need to hear us as they need to see us. So good afternoon, Mountaineers. Good afternoon. We are here once again on the steps of the People's House of where we live in our mountain state, where all Mountaineers are supposed to be free. See, this child tax credit is our birthright. It is something that is granted so we can make sure that we are taking care of our children, of our families. See, when we speak about the child tax credit, we often forget about those guardians, not just the biological parents, but the foster parents, the kinship parents, the adoptive parents, the grand families, the teacher who knows the students that is taking care of them. This child tax credit is making a difference of evictions and paying the rent or the mortgage and placing food on the table. Child care, eliminating these persons that take care of these children from working a third job, getting a vehicle, or at least paying for transportation. It is allowing families to have healthy choices at the dinner table, making sure that their children have clothes on their back, and for some to even have a Christmas tree up in the living room. It is making a difference of people that are living in their cars, are staying on someone's sofa with their families. Now, we like to say that children are our future. Being a newly grieving mother, I said, no, children are our present. And in this present time, it is our responsibility to do our job and constantly contact our elected officials. Now, you have state officials here today that is asking our colleagues to do the right thing. But many of you have traveled to D.C. begging our colleagues to do the right thing. Many of us are frustrated with the ask. And sometimes you got to get uncomfortable and demand the people that work for you to do the right thing. Please and thank you is for anyone. My ask is please do not allow West Virginians to take another step back into poverty. Please do not make the guardians of these children have to find that third job again. Please, that grandmother and grandfather that is caring for a great-grandchild, don't make them go back into the workforce again. And I leave this, thank you. Thank you to each and every one of us who stand here for the children of West Virginia. Thank you for each and every one of you who stand here for every child who is being a recipient and getting the things that they only could dream about because of the child tax credit. Thank you for seeing this as a hand up and not a hand out. Thank you for listening to the people who allowed you the privilege to represent us. I am Delegate Danielle Walker.
Before our last speaker, I just want to recognize that we also have Delegate Mike Pushkin with us. Please give a round of applause to Delegate Pushkin. Are there other delegates or senators with us here today? Senator Owens Brown, and he will be speaking here. Delegate Taylor Young. Others? Let's give a round of applause to everyone who came out, all of our delegates and senators. Our last speaker today is Joanna Vance. Please welcome Joanna.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? I can't hear it. Hello? Oh, it's this one. My bad. Thank you all for being here. I know it's cold. I won't keep you long. My name is Joanna Vance, and I am a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder. As a direct result of my recovery, I am able to be a wife. I'm able to be a mom. I'm able to hold down a job and pay taxes. I'm able to be a homeowner, and I'm able to be an organizer here in West Virginia. Over the past 7 months, I have collected hundreds of stories from West Virginia families about how the child tax credit has helped them, how it's helped them buy groceries, how it's helped them pay bills, how it's helped them not have to live from paycheck to paycheck, how it's helped them pay off medical debt. It's helped buy tires for cars, pay car payments. It's helped give families breathing room and not have to live paycheck to paycheck like they're used to doing. I myself am a recipient of the child tax credit, and I have spent it on, I bought new tires for my car that I've never done. I've always bought used tires, 2 at a time. But because of the child tax credit, I didn't have to budget and do that. I was able to buy 4 new tires. When we had COVID in December, the child tax credit helped us pay bills instead of getting into our savings account like we normally would have to. You know, it's helped us. We paid tremendous medical bills with the child tax credit, bills that would have taken us years, you know, paying off little by little from each check. But, you know, all right, so we just got our electric bill and our water bill for January. My water bill usually runs around $50, and it was $133. I had to call the water company, and I was like, can you please come and check to see if it was wrong? No, it wasn't wrong. There's a leak in my house, so now I have to get into my savings account and fix the leak and pay the water bill. My electric bill this month was, it normally runs about $140. It was $333. And let's be clear, we have gas heat, so that can't be the cause. We're losing families in West Virginia are losing the child tax credit in a time when bills are outrageous. Okay, bills cost more. We already know the price of food is higher. It's just a time that we need the child tax credit more than ever, because I know that if I am facing these difficulties when it comes to my utilities, that so is everyone else. You can read on Facebook every single day people saying, my electric bill is double, my water bill is double. What's going on with our utility companies? And tomorrow, West Virginians all across the state will not receive a benefit that they have received every single month since July that has helped them pay those bills, that has helped them put food on their tables, that has helped them not live paycheck to paycheck, and that has helped them get by and to be able to breathe easier and to feel better about themselves and their family. So my question is, what are these families going to do? Where's the help for these families? They're going to have to choose which utilities to pay or not pay. They're going to be put out in the cold, not being able to pay rent or, you know, pay their heating. They're going to have to choose. They're going to have to, I don't know if any of you have ever had to do this, but I grew up very poor, and I've had to go into the grocery store with like $28 and figure out what I'm going to be able to spend and get the most out of this money for my family to eat. Now, that might not be the case for me today, but it has been the case before, and it is still the case today for many, many people. And my question is, we're not going to have the child tax credit extended, then where is the help for West Virginians? Where is the help for West Virginia? Because we are struggling, and we need help, and we have the data, and we have the evidence of how the child tax credit has helped West Virginia. I just feel so bad for all of the families that I have spoken with and organized with and shared their stories with me over the past 7 months about how the child tax credit has helped them. Because now I wonder, how am I going to help them when they need help? Who is going to help them? What are we going to do? You know, we are West Virginia, and we are West Virginians. And we know what we need and what our families need. And West Virginia children need the child tax credit extended. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a testimonial that Lyda Shepard is going to read, brief closing statement, and then Senator Owens Brown.
Thank you, Jeff. So I'm, like Joanna was saying, we've been hearing from hundreds of families from across West Virginia about the impact that this tax credit has had on them and what they are worried about now that that extra income is not something they can rely on. I'm going to read from Hunter Starks, a West Virginia single mother. 2021 was an especially difficult year for my family for a lot of reasons, but the monthly payments through the temporary extended child tax credit made a huge difference in my family's ability to stay afloat. For a lot of families like mine, the extended child tax credit was the line between having a utility turned off rent being paid, or food on the table. For others, it was a desperately needed cushion for emergency car repairs or medical bills, when having a savings often feels like a luxury because we're so used to living paycheck to paycheck. These realities are not unusual, and every West Virginian deserves better. Making the extended child tax credit permanent should be just the start of that conversation. Thank you.
So I just want to take a moment to thank the organizers of today's event. If you are an organizer, please raise your hand, and let's give them a round of applause.
Senator Brown is coming.
Yeah. And if I want to thank our speakers and especially our sound. I know we're getting there, and the press that came out today. And now, please welcome State Senator Owens Brown. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. You know, this is where I belong, out here with we the people. Every member of the West Virginia legislature should be out here with us, standing up for voting rights, standing up for democracy if they believe in democracy. 56 years ago, in Dr. King's speech, he stated, "Voting as a badge of full citizenship has always had a special meaning to the Negro. But in 1965, the denial of the right to vote cut painfully and deep into the right to vote and his sense of personal dignity. It is the salt on his wounded pride." African Americans are some of the most patriotic, loyal Americans. We are patriotic because we believe in the sacred power of the vote. It is the power of our vote that threatens the political status quo. It is our vote that threatens the political power structure that has been in place since the birth of this nation 246 years ago. We believe in the power of the vote, and it will be our vote that will change the political power structure in this country. This political power structure is not good. It's not about what is good for the people or the country. It's a craven quest for power. They don't want to govern. They want to rule. They are willing to lie, cheat, steal, and even resort to violence in order to maintain their grip on power. If it wasn't for the black vote in the cities of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the city of Detroit, Michigan, in the city of Philadelphia, PA, and the city of Atlanta, Georgia, we might be talking about President Trump at this time instead of President Biden. With all these voter suppression laws in 14 states, over 50 voter suppression laws, the real target is those 4 states and cities. All those other laws are just a cover to cover the real target, are those 4 cities of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Detroit, Michigan, Philadelphia, PA, and Atlanta, Georgia. We're talking about people who are going as far to try to overthrow the government. Even in our own state of West Virginia, we had an attorney general who took part in a plan and a letter to not seat the president or look at or adopt his electoral vote. We also had Congressman Moody and Miller who voted not to seat President Biden. How can we trust our own elected officials if they're not willing to abide by the law and the democratic process? Do they not believe in democracy? Apparently not. They believe only in power. Sorry about that. Hands cold. We are in a struggle for the soul of America, a struggle for democracy. We must never give up. We must continue to fight to get the John Lewis Voting Act, Advancement Act passed that would make voter discrimination rules illegal based on race, language, ethnicity, gender, or any other discriminatory act that would deny a person his right to vote. We must also ask Senator Manchin, if he truly believes in democracy, why don't he get out of the way and support his own bill? Is he part of that power structure? Is he part of the status quo, or does he want to maintain the status quo? He always keeps talking about bipartisanship. 50 Republican senators voted against his Freedom to Vote Act. So he's been trying to get them to vote for many, many months, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I'm asking Senator Manchin, if you cannot get a bipartisan bill, are you planning to either drop your own Freedom to Vote bill, or are you willing to go to reconciliation and vote with the Democrats? This Freedom to Vote bill made it possible for mail-in ballots. It makes it mandatory to have a minimum of 15 days of early voting and many other reforms. The stakes are high. We cannot afford to lose this fight. If we lose this fight, we lose democracy. If we lose democracy, we lose this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. And if we have folks here, if you want some interviews around, and God bless and keep warm. Thank you.